Lowcountry native Dawn Boren wants to showcase the Gullah Geechee heritage to the world with her children's book series, Stories of the Gullah Geechee Children. I talked one-on-one with Dawn about the children's book series for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Dawn Boren, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you are the author of the children's book series, Stories of the Gullah Geechee Children. And of course, you are also a senior partner management specialist for the information technology, global vendor management, and sourcing team at Boeing. So let me ask you this, Ms. Dawn. What got you from your extremely important job at Boeing to now being an author?
A love of the culture. So I've always wanted to be an author ever since I was a little girl. And during COVID, I had some time to focus on both my love of information technology and my craft of writing. So I took the time out and I created something for actually the Gullah Geechee children.
Yes, indeed. Okay, now that you're an author, Ms. Dawn, what skills from your information technology world that you brought to being an author?
Yes, well, before I got into technology, I was in the legal field. So I used to be a municipal judge for quite some years, and I have a bachelor's in legal studies, and it is all reading and writing.
Yes.
So that helped me with my writing, just formatting, getting my sentences where they could be understood by children.
Yes.
So I'm used to writing and reading all day.
All day. So what did you read about the Gullah Geechee culture and the community before writing these series?
I've read all types of information, especially historic information based on our culture, but my stories are based on my experiences, my family's experiences, and just knowing that our culture is different. I have family that's up north. It's a clear, different type of world here. So I wanted to record that for our children.
And I know that from my research, you grew up in Berkeley County, if I'm not mistaken.
Dorchester County, the big city of Ridgeville and the Give Hands community.
Right,
yes.
Right, exactly right. I should know that.
Well, Ridgeville does span into Berkeley County also.
Exactly right. Well, let me ask you, Ms. Dawn, what is the state of the Gullah Geechee culture?
I think that we are in the best state that we've been, I know, in my short 41 years. I feel like our children is really embracing the culture. They're embracing our language, being different. I think they're taking a stand on how important we are. So I think it's our time, and that we are going to really show the world how important Gullah Geechee people are, not only to South Carolina and to the corridor, but to the world.
What do you think the future of the Gullah Geechee corridor will be?
I think that it will grow. I know that we kind of spanned about 30 miles inland from the ocean, from Florida below Jacksonville up to North Carolina, Pender County. I think that more people that have moved inland are now saying, I remember my granny doing this, or I remember the cuisine, and they're coming back to the corridor to celebrate with us. And maybe it'll expand a little bit more inland.
So growing up, obviously, in Dorchester County, what are those Gullah Geechee traditions that you still hold on to that you share with your family and friends today?
Absolutely. So I don't know how much the audience know about maroon communities, but places like Berkeley County, Dorchester County, we're talking about Give Hands, Cross,
yes.
Clubhouse, those types of areas. My grandmother made quilts. So as we know, there were a lot of messages, and the Underground Railroad was sewn into these quilts just like braids.
Right.
I also have one person in my community. She is a sweetgrass basket weaver. And so you don't correlate that to more of the inland and not Charleston, downtown, the islands. But those things, I mean, I grew up on red rice and having 4 or 5 rices in one setting, and the same thing. We fish, we crab, we live off the land. It's the same thing, but not in the city.
What more have you learned about the Gullah Geechee community now that you're an actual author?
I've learned that people are so amazed by the culture. I'll have people, to be honest with you, people will reach out to me, a lot of parents or grandparents, and say, I'm so glad that I get to read this to my children or my grandchildren because it sparked me to share stories of when I grew up, Gullah Geechee, or when I used to visit with my family. So I just learned that people they really love who we are, and they look forward to spending time with us and learning more about the importance of our culture.
What's important about the culture that people in general are missing today?
That we are still direct descendants of enslaved people. We are we still have that bloodline in us, and we cultivate it. I love when I hear the language. My grandma used to always say, "Y'all come in the house." And when I went to school, it was like no one knew what I was talking about except people out in my community. So it's so amazing. It blows my mind sometimes that I feel like I'm important. My 8-year-old told me, he said, Mom, I feel important when I talk about Gullah Geechee culture with my friends because some of them don't know. And I say, you are important. Someone a very long time ago was forced on a ship, and they were very lucky to even be alive, but they died so that you can go to school, so that you can give things to your community. So embrace what you have because it is a blessing. America comes from here.
And Ms. Dawn, how were you able to read your book series to your kids?
They kind of laughed because they kind of already knew the experiences. They go crabbing. They grew up doing that. Um, they love the palmetto rolls. So my youngest was more interested about it because he would ask questions because he's younger. But my older kids are like, "Oh, we already knew that, Mom. The crab crack, we had one last week." So but they like reading it to their younger cousins. So it's
Wow.
become a family thing, I guess you could say.
And when you go back to your series, Miss Dawn, who exactly are the Gullah Geechee children?
The Gullah Geechee Children are actually me. Other people that I've known, like there's every person that's in the books, I have a personal experience with. And they are real experiences that I've had myself. So I didn't want to create anything new about Gullah Geechee people because we are who we are. I just wanted to make sure that I was able to capture the life of a Gullah Geechee child to make sure that they are proud of who they are. They're different, but hey, we are special people.
That brings me to my next question, Ms. Dawn. What communication gap has actually been closed because of the series that you've actually published?
I've had a lot of teachers reach out to me. They asked me to come to their classrooms to read my books because I do have bits and parts of the language in the series. So I think it has helped teachers that are not familiar with the culture. Um, it gives them an opportunity to make an initiative to make sure that our children are recognized and their differences are recognized. And who better to do that than people out of their own community? So I love that they're in classrooms and the children can actually read a book and hear their own language because Gullah Geechee language is a real language.
And Ms. Dawn, what are those other differences when it comes to the Gullah Geechee culture that should be recognized that are actually not right now?
I think some of our traditions, and I wish that we had more. I know it will come, but I wish we had more support in our school systems. I have had experiences with my children's friends where they have been pushed into speech class because of their accent. I think that it needs to be addressed. We need to make sure that the world knows that Gullah Geechee language is a language. It's a mix of course, our African dialect, English, and Creole. Um, our children shouldn't be placed in language because they're in language classes because their accent. That is a big gap that is going to have to be closed. And I think that it starts with us, the community, members of the Gullah Geechee community, because we have to go in the classrooms and help the teachers steer the school board on making our kids more inclusive when it comes to their language.
How do you hope to close that gap with the next series of your book?
I hope to just provide more information and have more of the actual language inside of the books. I also want to give myself selflessly to the culture and to the community. So I want to, if any teacher will reach out to me and say, hey, can you come and talk to the kids about the culture or the importance of Gullah Geechee heritage, I'm there. I don't need a check. The people that have passed on from the slave trade have already paid my way. They paid my way. I already got my check. I'm here, and I'm here to teach and sow into the community. So that's how I'm giving my part back to the community.
As you know, Charleston is changing a whole lot, as you know. So
Absolutely.
what do you think the Gullah Geechee heritage will be in the next 5 to 10 years here?
It's scary. I mean, gentrification is a real thing. Our communities are being dismantled, not only in the city, I see it in the country too. Oh yes, we have neighborhoods popping up where there used to be marshes and ponds and our baseball fields and, places that we used to commune. So I think it's going to change. Everything is going to change. But now is the time for us to come together as a community so that we can steer the change and take control. Because if we do not, we're going to lose important parts of our culture.
When it comes to the Gullah Geechee community today, where do these people actually commune?
Church. They're at church. Like we said, we fellowship. We love food. You know anything about Gullah Geechee people, we love to eat. So we're always around a table. It makes you feel comfortable when you're communing and fellowshipping with someone. You can have open dialect. So that's why you'll find us at the oyster roast, the crab crack. Like I said, sports in the country, everybody's at the softball field. So, and even other social engagements, like people go to the lodge or, different things that they have. Maybe card game. You can have great conversation around spades with the right people because we can be a little serious about our card games. But we're still communing together with each other all the time. And that's one thing I love about our culture is like we're all family. You can I can see someone in Atlanta and I could talk to my kids. I have to code switch a lot between my job and my personal life. But if I'm talking to my children, I can be open. And I've had people, are you from Charleston? Are you I'm from the area. Yes, I'm definitely from the Lowcountry. So they're everywhere.
Everywhere. Wow. That's amazing. What else do you want people to be open about when it comes to the Gullah Geechee community? I know I'm probably redundant with this particular question.
I want them to be open about the state of our properties. A lot of heirs property is being snatched up because a lot of people don't have the education on how to prevent that. Taxes will be used as a leverage on basically snatching up your entire lineage, places where your grandparents and your great grandparents, they slaved, they work hard for that property. So we need to be honest in the state that we're at right now so that we can come together and change it. If we don't, we're going to be in a bad space in the next 5 years.
Going back to your book, obviously the stories of the Gullah Geechee Children, which one of those particular characters actually describes you?
Dawn. So in the crab crack, you will meet Dawn, and she goes on an adventure with her uncle crabbing for a family crab crack. And that's something that I enjoy. One of my uncles, he's an avid fisherman. He loves fishing. He loves crabbing. He has his own garden. He also have we have some bees out in the country. So I grew up learning how to do everything outside. Just for my family, it was normal. So I wanted to actually capture that. And before, he's the oldest sibling out of my uncles and aunts. So I wanted to do it for myself, and I also wanted to do it for him, to see that I recognize the seeds that he sowed in my life. And I want to carry that on with my children so that we can keep the culture going.
Wow, that's really, really amazing. Well, author Dawn Boren, thank you, Judge, for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close Ups.
Thank you so much, Quintin.
I appreciate it greatly.